some profound change had taken place that afternoon. That night, Horty asked me to water her avocado tree, which she normally loved doing herself. The following day, she told me she didn't trust herself to drive and asked me to take her to a hair appointment. She seemed to be reliving the grocery owner's words and questioning her competency as an older person in a way she never had before. Fortunately, by the time I flew to Japan, Horty had pulled out of her ageism-induced funk. The morning before my departure, she insisted on taking me for a brisk, long walk to stretch my legs before the long plane ride. When we returned, she handed me a handwritten list of restaurant recommendations from a visit to Japan with my grandfather 2 decades earlier. But as I waved goodbye to Horty and headed off to Tokyo, I couldn't help but wonder, if a few negative words could affect someone as strong and spunky as Horty, what were negative age stereotypes doing to us as a country? What power did they have to actually change the way we age? And what power could we have if we changed the way we thought and talked about aging? Aging rock stars in Tokyo. As I settled into my new life in Tokyo, my mind would often fly back to Grandma Horty, watering her avocado tree in the cooling twilight of a Florida evening, and I wondered what she would make of this place, where centenarian sushi chefs were constantly feted on television, and older relatives were served first at meals. I was still in Japan when a national holiday called Kero no Hi rolled around. Walking through Shinjuku Park that day, I passed crowds of weightlifters, some of them shirtless, some in skin-tight leotards, all of them in their 70s and 80s, strutting around, lifting weights, flaunting their well-toned bodies. All over the country on this holiday, people were crisscrossing the archipelago by high-speed train, boat, and car as they returned home to visit their elders. That day, restaurants would serve free meals to seniors. For those less mobile, school children would prepare and deliver bento boxes full of fresh sushi and delicately fried tempura. Kero no Hi translates to Respect for the Aged Day, but evidently the Japanese were already doing this every day of the year. Music classes were full of seniors trying out the electric slide guitar for the first time at age 75. Newsstands were lined with colorful manga, the popular comic books for readers of all ages, telling stories of older people falling in love. The Japanese treated old age as something to enjoy, a fact of being alive rather than something to fear or resent. In the U.S., it was a different cultural picture. It wasn't just my grandmother's interaction with the ageist store owner. It was everywhere. The billboards for age-defying skin treatments, the late-night ads for local plastic surgeons going on about wrinkles like they were generals describing hostile enemy forces, the infantilizing greetings older people endured in restaurants and movie theaters. Everywhere I looked, in TV shows, in fairy tales, and online, old age was treated as though it meant forgetfulness, weakness, and decline. In Japan, it became clear to me that the culture we're in impacts how we age. Take menopause, for instance. I learned that Japanese culture doesn't typically make a lot of fuss around it, treating it as a natural part of aging that can lead to a valued phase of life, rather than as fodder for those Western stereotypes of female irritability and sexual obsolescence that characterize menopause as a midlife affliction. And the result of the Japanese being less likely to stigmatize this natural aspect of aging than their peers in North America, older Japanese women are much less likely to experience hot flashes, as well as other symptoms of menopause, than women of the same age in the U.S. and Canada. And Japanese older men, who are treated, culturally, like rock stars in their country, according to the anthropologist who led this study, were found to have higher testosterone levels than their European counterparts. This suggests that your libido ages differently depending on the way your culture perceives and treats aging. I began to wonder just how much culture impacts individual age beliefs, how we think about older people and getting older. And I was curious about the extent to which these individual conceptions, in turn, influence the aging process. Could there